What's up, guys? Today I'm doing something that I don't normally do, but we're going to be covering some of the candidates. This is round 4. And if you're not familiar, the candidates is some of the best players in the world who are competing for one spot to challenge the world champion. All right. And so this is probably the biggest tournament of the year. And so it's actually turning out to be pretty exciting. So we're going to cover some of these games. Feel free to ask questions. I'll explain what's going on as best I can understand it. And yeah, we'll just kind of have some fun. So let me make sure people are joining okay. And then we will do a recap of what's gone on so far. So this is the game to watch, okay? And the reason is, let me pull up the standings for you guys. Fabiano Caruana, sitting at 2.5, is tied with Javokir Sindarov, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So this is the game. They're playing right now. Tie for first place is playing. Okay, so this is a big deal. And we've had back-to-back brilliant moves. So I'm actually looking at this game for the first time myself. So let's go ahead and start from the beginning, and we can catch up together. So we have a Queen's Gambit. Okay. Queen's Gambit declined. So black says, I don't want to take the pawn. I'm just going to defend. Knight f3. And now he accepts. So this is interesting. It's kind of like a delayed Queen's Gambit accepted. Instead of taking right away, you play e6 and then you take it later. So we do get transposed into a Queen's Gambit accepted. And you can't usually hold on to the extra pawn. If you try to, you generally just get into trouble. White can play a4. And sometimes there's even traps where the queen comes to f3 and hits the rook. And so it's just a kind of a risky way to play if you're going to try to defend it. So in a lot of cases, they don't do that. So this is not surprising. Lets him take back the pawn. c5, okay. White castles. Queen e2. a6. Bishop goes back. a4. Okay, chases the knight. I think none of this is really crazy so far. I'm not an expert on the Queen's Gambit, but so far everybody's developing. Okay, this is interesting. Now there's an open rook file on the king, not to mention the bishop is lined up here. So this is a very double-edged move, right? We'll see what happens. D takes c5. Knight to b3. Forking the pieces, although this is defended, I don't think that's really a big deal. Whoa! Whoa! This is the top engine move. This is a brilliant move. He totally ignores the rook and plays the move c6. How long did he spend on this? Not long at all. So I think Sindarov is in preparation here, guys. He didn't spend much time at all. In fact, he's not spent much time this entire game, which tells me he may have studied this line. So what's going on here? Well, Fabi did not take the rook. So let's see if we can figure out why. If you take the rook, it looks like you're going to lose your bishop. You're obviously going to save your rook. Bishop takes a6. So he's already gotten a bishop and a pawn for the rook. Not to mention, this pawn is extremely dangerous. And let's say black tries to be greedy and save the knight. What's going to happen? Ah, the check. So the king is in trouble. Now you have to put your king on e7. The queen is coming in. Yeah, this looks really bad. Okay, so this, after you take the pawn, not only are you have this, bishop b5 check apparently is the big threat. And so bishop d6 is the move here. Knight can jump in. There's a fork, so you play queen c7. The queen comes in. And I guess it's just... Let's see, is the knight trapped? What if the knight tries to leave? What's going to happen here? Nope, yeah, that knight is not getting out of there. Look at the pin. So you're actually going to probably end up getting the knight. b3. Well, I mean, this is nasty. Okay, so the point is, like, yeah, you get a rook, but the position falls apart, okay, if you take that. So Fabi decides to take back, which is the best move. Stockfish agrees. Okay. By the way, Fabiano spent 17 minutes when he played knight b3, which means he's probably not in preparation anymore. And the fact that Sindarov is moving so quickly is not a good sign. Okay, let's see. I mean, not a good sign for Fabi. If you want Sindarov to win, it's a great sign. And I honestly, I don't really care. I'm just kind of interested in how the game turns out. So he plays knight d4, which was a brilliant move earlier. Now it's taken away the brilliant for some reason. Okay, but it was back-to-back brilliant moves. Sacrificing the rook a second time. And again, Fabiano says, no, I don't want to take that. Plays knight takes d4. Okay, and why did my accuracy... Oh, because I'm in analysis mode. I see that. Okay. All right, so what happens if you take it now? I guess it's a similar kind of story, right? You take on c6. It's the queen moves somewhere. You go back. It also traps the knight temporarily. Let's say they just attack you. What's going to happen? a5. Okay, they take it. Queen f3, you hit the rook. They save the rook. You take on f6, you hit the other rook. They save that rook. You attack it again. They save it again. Now you attack the other rook. This is wild. Basically, you just keep attacking the rooks. They save it again. And now you play bishop e4. I don't know why, but yeah, the king is in a bad way. Wow, this is fascinating. So yeah, basically you can't ever really take that rook. Okay, so he doesn't take it. He trades and plays rook g8. So yeah, Fabiano plays the best moves. So even though he maybe was surprised, looks like he figures out how to get past that, and now he's creating his own threats here on g2. Okay. Are they playing live? Yeah, they're playing live. This is the live moment right here. Fabiano just played rook g8. So this is live. Hey guys, good morning. What's up, Rob? How's it going? Are we playing bridge today? You know, I thought about it and then I was like, no, we're not playing bridge today. For those of you who don't know, was it last year? Yeah, I think it was last year. April Fool's prank. I said I was going to be getting into like professional bridge or something, and I had a lesson, and no, we're not doing that. We're playing chess. Okay, let's check on some of the other games because I haven't seen some of these other ones. So let's see what else is going on. Let's come over here. So Hikaru's black, Sicilian. Interesting. So usually in the Sicilian at the top level, d4 is played pretty early, but white is not playing it. Oh, there it is. Okay. Just delays a little bit. All right. So we probably transpose. Wow. They have not made a lot of moves, and that's very interesting. Okay. So nothing really happening here. Still in the opening phases. Let's go to the next game. Ooh, brilliant moves here. Let's see what's going on in this game. Wow. Okay, so another Sicilian. There's the d4 right away. This is the mainline Sicilian. Knight f6, knight c3, a6. This is called the Najdorf. You stop a bunch of pieces from going to b5. So even though you're wasting time with a pawn move, it's pretty valuable. It's a pretty valuable square to control. Bishop g5, e6, bishop d3, bishop e7, queen e2, and knight takes e4 is a brilliant move, although I guess this might just be theory because these players weren't really thinking much at all here. So you give up the knight because you're creating the counterattack on the bishop. And I guess there's some fancy tactics. If white tries to trade and attack you, the knight jumps over, hits the queen, takes. You could save your bishop, but they grab the knight. And when the dust settles, 5, 6, 7, black has an extra pawn. So I guess that's good for black. Okay. But white decides to not do that. Plays knight f5. I don't know if this is theory or not. Let's see. Is this theory, guys? No, this hasn't been played very often. So yeah, right here, queen e2 is kind of a rare move. Most people are castling, at least in the database on chess.com. Okay, so queen e2, a little bit of a rare move. This has been played a few times by top players, and both of the games ended in a draw. Okay. Knight f5. Yeah, this has been played before. Well, it was played over 20 years ago, so it's been a while. Okay. Wow. All right, let's go back. So bishop e7 takes. The king runs to d7. This is fascinating that Stockfish says it's an equal position. Castles, knight c6. I mean, I guess even though the king's on d7, white has no clear and obvious way to attack it right away. c4, king c7. Yeah, it looks like the king is going to run back here. Bishop d7. Rook c8. Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. He takes the pawn. And this is where we are. Yeah, so the players have started to think now. So they're out of their preparation. Okay. Looks like black's king's going to go here. All right, let's see the other game we have not looked at. Both of these players at 1.5. Wow. Black with the 100 accuracy. Most of this stuff, let's see. Yeah, they haven't really started thinking yet. So most of this stuff is preparation, which means they've studied it. They already know these lines. Yep. Okay, let's go back to this one. This is the game that I'm most interested in here. Let me get out of analysis mode for a second. Okay. All right. Questions, guys. What do you want to look at? I mean, obviously you have to stop the threat so you don't just lose the game. You could play bishop e4, it looks like, to trade off the bishop, which is the move that Stockfish likes. Although, surprisingly, it doesn't say that g3 is that bad, which looks pretty awful, opening up the diagonal in front of your king. But I guess you could play bishop e4 later and deal with that. Although, I imagine he's going to play bishop e4, right? Like, I don't think you're going to play g3. Maybe f3, but why would you do that? Because then you can play bishop e3 with a tempo on the queen, then your rooks can swing over. So maybe there's some sort of crazy pawn sacrifice, actually. The line Stockfish gives is bishop e4, takes, queen d5, takes, going to this endgame. But I don't know. The way that Sindarov has been playing, I don't feel like he wants a queen trade. You want to watch some bridge? I don't even remember the rules of bridge. That's how much I forgot my lesson. I went from training to be a professional to I don't even remember the rules. Who do I think is going to win the candidates? I have no idea. It's already started off kind of wild, you know, with Hikaru losing in the first round, and I don't know. Fabiano probably is. If I had to pick someone, I would say he would win, but we'll see. There's a lot of pressure, so. Yeah, let's check Hikaru's game. Last time, nothing had happened. Yeah, there's still... Yi is thinking for a long time in this position. They're still kind of in the opening, so it's nothing really to look at just yet. This is, in my opinion, the most interesting game, I think. Although, this is also getting pretty wild, too. But they're going to think for a while here. I think they're going to think for a while. I mean, what is even happening? There's an open file on the king. There's an open file on the king here. His king's on c7. The knights are just kind of sitting around. The bishops look pretty solid in the middle. I don't know I don't even know how to evaluate this. Yeah, I haven't kept up with the women's. Let me see. I can pull up some. You guys saw chess boxing is happening on chess.com. They did get me when I first saw it. I for just like about 3 seconds, I was like, oh, really? Because there are people who are getting into chess boxing, so I sort of like believed it for a second. I thought it was just going to be like a live broadcast of somebody chess boxing, and then I was like, wait, it's April 1st. I almost forgot. Okay, we had a move in one of the games here. Which one was it? Okay, Rook B1. Rook B1 was played. Stockfish agrees. This is the way. Lining up on the open file. I mean, obviously, if the king is going to try to run, it's going to run back here. So this is a great place for the rook to be if you want to attack the king. Wasn't really doing much in the corner anyway. So yeah, rook b1 makes a lot of sense. And it comes with the tempo. Attacks the knight. So black's going to have to move. And they do get the bishop pair if they want it. So you're going to have knights against bishops, which normally you would favor the bishops, but black's king is really not that safe. So this is turning out to be a pretty interesting game, actually. Especially if you imagine if these rooks get doubled up on this file. Now, the only problem that I see for white is after black plays like bishop c6, it's going to be very well defended. You don't have a way to chase that bishop away because you have no pawns left that can attack it. And the knights just seem a little bit misplaced. So that's kind of why we're getting a roughly equal evaluation, even though black's king is probably a bit weak. Yeah, so that's interesting. You've been watching a lot of games and you notice that it's very rare for there to be an undefended piece. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. So we're launching the Chess Vibes Academy in April, later this month, and the first boot camp in there is going to be on blundering. And that's one of the things that I talk about, is how if you look at high level games, they generally almost never have an undefended piece. And that's part of not blundering as much. Beginners tend to, they have, pieces all over the board that could potentially be captured. And then it's no wonder they're like, oh, I didn't see that, so yeah, it's a good point. Very good point. All right, we just had another move, F4 in this game. Okay, so queen d6 was played, creating the threat on h2. F4. We're going to get a trade here. Interesting. Okay. Okay, takes back with the bishop. That's what I was thinking. I like white's position here. This looks like a target. You could play like bishop f3, and you put a rook on d1 and a queen somewhere, and you just pile up on this. Yeah. Although Stockfish says after 94, it's equal. I guess black kind of doesn't give you a chance to do that. They start threatening stuff. You can't move it. You have to watch out for forks. Yeah, okay. So, interesting. All right, let's see. This is one of the women's games. Let's see what's happened here. Okay, Ruby Lopez. Whoa, a4. I'm not familiar with the theory here. I don't know if this is normal or what. Interesting. King b7. So white is going to attack. Yeah, this should be an interesting game. We'll have to keep an eye on this one. Let's see. We did get a move somewhere. Not in this game. Not in this game. What was the other move? Rook B1 we already looked at. Yeah, 94. Prague does play 94. And attacks the bishop on C3. I guess white's going to defend it or move it. No, actually, you have to be careful if you move it. You can't get forked. I don't think you really want to move it back to E1. Although I guess technically you could do that. But he's most likely going to just defend it and allow the trade. Okay. Nope, he does move it. He just counterattacks the queen. Interesting. So let's say the queen moves, and then he's going to deal with the fork. You can't take the rook because you lose a queen. And then when you take back... Actually, no. Can you do that? Maybe he can. Maybe he could trade. Although, I don't know. It just gives up the file. So he's probably not going to do that. He's probably going to move the queen. 100 accuracy. Move 19. And we have 100 accuracy. Wow. Do players at this level generally want to get to the bonus with the increment, generally accepting that it will happen, or do they want to put time pressure on each other? I don't know. So when I played in tournaments like this, the longer time control, I didn't really think a lot about the time control. It was never really part of my strategy to like, all right, let me just make sure I get to the time control. Let me try to put pressure on it. I focus more on the game, right? Like I want to checkmate them. I don't want to blunder. I want to make good moves. I think it's probably the same for these guys. Like mostly they're focusing on the board. Maybe at some point something happens in the game where you start to transition. So like for example, after 25 moves, it's like you have your opponent in a tough situation. They're spending lots and lots of time. You have a huge time advantage. Maybe at that point you're like, okay, now I'm going to transition and change my strategy a little bit and move quicker and intentionally try to put pressure. But I don't think you go into the game with that mindset. I think you just go into the game with the mindset of like, let's play good chess. Let's not make mistakes. That's really what it comes down to. And then you kind of adapt as the game goes on, maybe is what I would say. But obviously everybody has kind of their own strategies, but that's what I would think. Fabby's down almost 40 minutes. Yeah, so Fabby likes to think a lot, but also for the first like 16 moves, yeah, Javakir didn't think at all. Like I'm looking at the timestamps. He literally didn't spend not even a minute really on any move until just now. So he had studied this line, I guess. Now I don't exactly know. We could probably actually see, where did the novelty sort of start? Let's see if we can find this. So right here, most people play bishop b3. He played bishop d3. So that was kind of leaving the main line territory right there. And then a4 also not the main line. And then here, chess.com says there's no games in the database. So on this move, we're already kind of in uncharted territory, and yet he still kept playing instantly for a lot of it. So let's go back to the game. Okay, no moves have been made here. So yeah, now finally Javakir is thinking, and so that's what happened there. Okay, what's going on? Hikaru's game. Yi's finally played bishop e3. Okay. We have he does trade. He does trade. And now white's deciding which way to recapture. Okay. So knight e4 was played, bishop e5 was played, the queen went back. Yeah. All right, so the moves we're getting are coming from this game, I guess. So king b7, rook b1, rook a8, and queen e1. Why queen e1? I'm not really sure why queen e1. What's the point? Do you want to bring it over this way? Do you want to... Are you setting up some sort of a sacrifice on a5, maybe? Not sure. We'll have to keep an eye on that. We'll have to keep an eye on that. All right, let me see what other games in the women's section do we want to look at. Maybe not that one. Maybe not that one. Yeah, no, I think this is the most interesting one because we're going to get a really interesting attack here on the king. So we'll keep an eye on this one. And then this one, we're going to have to wait probably a bit. They have lots of time, so... Well, that's a good question. What were your favorite openings as a club level player, and why did you move on from them? So, okay. Let me pull up an analysis board here. So when I first started, I think I played like d4. Why is it not centered? What's going on? Oh, it's because the candidates moves the board all around. Okay, let me reposition this. So yeah, when I first started, I played d4, and I didn't really know anything. I just kind of like threw out my knight, threw out my bishop somewhere, threw out my other knight, pushed my pawn up. I think, you know, did something like this in castle. Like I didn't really know that openings existed. I didn't study them. I was just like, get your pieces out, try to take stuff, don't lose your pieces, don't blunder. And I was pretty good at that. And so I just did this for a while. And then at some point, I don't actually remember when, I switched to e4, which was a good change. I think it was a good change for me because it expanded my mind tactically, right? Like d4 tends to be more positional, but e4 tends to be more tactical. And so once I switched to e4, I started to really realize, like, it's particularly all the tactics with bishop f7 stuff, right? Especially as black, I was just unaware of a lot of these things, right? And so, yeah, I kind of got used to that. And then I don't know. And then at some point I started playing gambits and just really enjoyed playing lots of the gambits. So it was a slow process. It was like for years I would just play d4 and not really think about it. And then I would learn something, and for years I would play this new opening, and then eventually you would switch. So I don't know. It's kind of a loaded question, actually. But now I play all these crazy gambits, and I have a lot of fun with that. So, all right, we're getting some moves. Let's see what's going on. Not this game. No. Okay, he takes with the queen. He gets a question mark. Ooh, yeah, big question mark there. I wonder why. So Stockfish says you got to take with the rook. Then black would play bishop c6. You could push your pawn. They would push their pawn. Okay, why is taking with the queen bad? It's something to do with bishop a4? Then you move your rook. Then the king goes back. I don't know why that's so good for black. We'll see if Giri plays this move. Maybe he knows why. Let's keep going. What's going on in this game? Okay, so Hikaru played the knight out. He goes with this. All right. And he plays G3. Wow. I was not expecting this move at all. G3. So, okay, I mean, yes, it's nice that you kind of permanently shut down the rook, because now it's very difficult to attack this with the rook. I just didn't like this. I mean, yeah, you do have the bishop, but what if black plays f5 and stops you from going there? Is this not going to be dangerous? Queen and bishop lined up here? Like, that's the move that I'm worried about. Oh, I guess if they play f5, you just take it, don't you? Interesting. There's a pin here, so you could take the pawn. Although Stockfish says on f5, the best move is bishop c4. I mean, this game is wild. Oh yeah, no. Because hold on, guys. Look what I just almost. If they play f5, we're going into analysis mode now, and you try to take it. You guys see the move for black that I overlooked? Queen d5. It's a fork. You're forking either checkmate or you take the bishop. Wow. So you can't take it. Yeah, so why not f5? Isn't f5 a good move? Stockfish says it's best to take the pawn, but I don't know. This looks scary to me. I don't like playing moves like that, but we'll see. Whose position would you prefer in this game? I was preferring white, but I was thinking bishop e4 here. Just to get rid of this annoying bishop. I was thinking like bishop e4, and now white's position looks pretty pleasant, I thought. Although Stockfish says after queen d5, you kind of have to go into the endgame, which I guess is just equal. So there's not much happening there. And I guess that's what white's trying to avoid. So they play g3 to keep pieces on the board. And if they go for queen d5 immediately, threatening the checkmates, you have f3. And now you're the one threatening to go here. There is a check, but then the bishop comes out with e3. And I guess what white is saying is, now I get this move for free. You have to waste time moving. Then I get to bring my rook here. And white's got a lot of pieces that are ready to kind of attack this king. And I guess black is sort of behind in development. I don't know. This is getting kind of complicated, so we'll see. Let's go back here. Still sitting at 99 accuracy though, so nothing crazy has happened. Do I ever play classical? Yeah, sometimes. It's been a while. I had some bad tournaments the last time I played, but I do from time to time, yeah. Last couple times I played, though, I was trying to do too much, I think. I was, like, recording it, and it was just a lot of, like, hassle between the rounds, setting up the camera, and then cleaning it up, and getting the videos uploaded, and all that stuff, and it just kind of, I don't know, I think it affected how I played, so I didn't do very well. But maybe next time what I'll do is, like, not record the games, just play, and focus on actually trying to win, and then do recaps after the fact or something like that. Might be better. 700 player wants to get to at least 1600 within the next year. So first thing I would say is, like, don't put a rating requirement on your like, it's better to just focus on, like, becoming the best player you can be. And if you get to the 1600 rating, great. If not, that's okay too. Like, don't focus so much on the rating, because that's going to set you up for tilt and all kinds of things. It's better to just, like, how can I become a better player? What's my weakness? Do I need to work on my openings? Do I even know any openings? Probably should learn some basic. Okay. Do I need to work on my tactics? Am I missing tactics all the time? I need to work on that. Okay. Just find what you're weak at and focus on that. And the rating will come after. So that would be my recommendation. Show you a weapon against the English? Yeah. Against the English, there's a system that I like to play. I'll show you it real quick. It's super easy. It's super easy to learn. So let me get the board in the right position. Okay, against the English, what you can do is play e5. Pretty much everybody plays knight c3. Now, if they don't play knight c3, you can't play the system, but most everybody plays knight c3 if they're going to play the English. You play bishop b4. And your point is you're going to just trade that off. And once you trade it off, you're going to put all your pawns on the dark squares, something like this. You're going to put your bishop here. And basically, their bishop doesn't really have much to do because you have all your pawns on dark square. What's it going to do? Like, there's nothing for it to attack. You've already gotten rid of your dark squared bishop. And then you're going to play like queen d7. You can trade this off if you want. At some point, if you want, you could even play h6 and then f5, f4 and attack the king here. But you just have a really solid position. Like, there's not really many weaknesses. You have to be careful for a few little things, like don't get forked here. And sometimes it gets a little tricky with if there's pressure here. But as long as you set up your pieces like this, usually you're fine. But it's a really simple system. Like, just bring out your bishop, trade it for the knight, put all your pawns on the dark squares, put your knight here, your bishop here, and you do that. The only thing you have to kind of understand is what if they play knight d5. There's a cool line that I like to play. It's bishop back here. Most people are thinking they're going to trap you, but you can actually play c6, let them take, you take them, and then you can either recapture right away or you can play knight f6 to stop e4, and eventually you're going to get these pawns back usually, and the game goes on. But it's pretty interesting, and the nice thing about this is it completely takes white out of their comfort zone. This is not how most people play the English. It doesn't even look like the English anymore. It looks like, I don't know what it looks like, right? So that's why I like to play that. So maybe look into it, bishop b4. It's kind of a unique surprise weapon. Okay, let's see what's going on here. So this game, nothing has happened. So we'll go on. Let's check Hikaru's game. So Hikaru decides to grab the pawn. Okay. Let's go to this game. Still the question mark. Geary down to 46 minutes. He is getting lower on time, but still a lot of time. Engine says this is the only move for black which keeps the advantage. Bishop a4. I don't exactly know why. Stockfish says white's going to save the rook. You're going to move your king back here. And then you're going to put your bishop back on c6. So what's the benefit of this maneuver as opposed to just putting your bishop here right away? c5. It has something to do with c5. And if you just move your king right away, again, yeah, there's the pawn is hanging, and there's going to be interesting. So by throwing in this move, you now have defended this. So you can play, oh, that's the idea. That's the idea. If you try to play, so what Stockfish wants is to put the king here and the bishop here. But if you try to put the king there right away, you lose your pawn. And if you try to play bishop c6 first, c5 threatens that you're going to lose the pawn. You can't take because queen g3 does not let the king escape. Wow, that's actually like checkmate. Look at that. The king can't move, so you have to block and you just lose the piece. Wow. So c5 is a very strong move. But if you try to play c5 now, well, it's going to cost you your rook, which is why you can't get away with that. So you have to attack it. Then you go back, and now c5 doesn't do anything. You play bishop b5, hit the queen moves, the game goes on, you're going to play d5, and you're fine. Whew. Okay, so that's actually not that complicated once you understand the idea of, I want to get my king to safety. I can't do it because of this weakness. I can't play bishop c6 because this crazy move c5. And by the way, if black plays d5, this is still really strong, even though it's not as good because the king can run. It's still very, very dangerous for the king to be stuck in the center. So we'll see if Geary can figure all that out and play bishop a4. He's spending a lot of time, so maybe. That's actually really interesting. Okay. Let's see what's going on. Let's check the game we were following here. The black played h5, starting their own. Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting game because black's going to be attacking over here, white's attacking over here. We'll keep an eye on that one. What's happened in this game? Let's back up a few. So we attacked the queen, right? The queen went back. White did trade the rooks. Interesting. And then immediately replaced this. Okay, so you avoid the fork that way. There's no longer a fork. You've gotten rid of the rook. Okay. f6 and bishop back to b2. Pretty equal. Prague is still playing at 100 accuracy, so that's pretty good. We looked at this already. Hikaru's game, bishop g7, roughly equal. Nothing crazy is happening yet. This is going to be a while, I think, before anything interesting happens. And then over here, Fabiano is down to 38 minutes. On move 17, is the time control, is it 40 moves when they get the bonus time? Does anybody know? I think it's 40 moves, right? Generally, that's what it is. I haven't actually looked. If it is 40 moves, you still have a long way to go. Which 40? Okay. Yeah, so they have 23 moves, and he's got 38 minutes. Yeah, I mean, he was spending 17 minutes on another move, 15 minutes on another. He's not going to be able to keep doing that as the time gets slower. So this game is going to be very interesting, and I wonder if time pressure is going to affect Fabi's play later on. Who do I think is going to win? I don't know. I would say Fabiano. Initially, I thought maybe Hikaru, but after losing the first round to Fabiano, that's going to be really hard to do. Now, there's obviously still time, but and then Javokir, I don't know anything about this guy actually. Let me see if I can find some information here. He's 20 years old. Huh. One of the youngest grandmasters in history. Earned his GM title at the age of 12 years, 10 months, and 5 days. It's crazy how it just keeps getting younger, you know? It used to be like, oh, you became a GM at 18, that's amazing. And it was like, no, now it's 17, 16, 15. It's just like, now it's 12. That's just insane to me. In 2023, he crossed 2,700 FIDE. I mean, I wonder if he always plays so aggressively or if he decided to do that, as a strategy for the candidates. Yeah, interesting. I mean, I've really liked what I've seen so far from some of his games. So, yeah, we'll see if he can keep it up. But the game against Prague was really good. So, what move are they on now? Yeah, it's a good question. They're on move 17. They're on move 17. They have to get to move 40 before they get extra time. Let me see what time control is. Hold on. Where is it at? Okay, it's 120 minutes for the first 40 moves, and then they get 30 extra minutes plus 30-second increment. So after you get to move 40, that's when you start getting the bonus time where they add 30 seconds. But right now, there's no added time. So those 35 minutes that he has, that's it until move 40. So 23 moves is a lot. He's almost getting to the point where it's going to be one move per minute, essentially, right? Which is very fast in a complicated game like this, especially when your opponent has hours or an hour and a half to think, right? What's up, Brian? No worries, man. Good to see you. Okay, so we do see F5, and it is a tricky move. We already talked about it. You cannot take the pawn. You would be walking into this fork, queen d5, which attacks the bishop and threatens multiple checkmates at the same time. That's actually an important detail because you could save the bishop and stop this checkmate, but you can't stop this checkmate that way, so you would still lose. So taking the pawn would be a huge blunder. There's no way he's going to play that. That's a super basic tactic, so he's not going to take the pawn. Stockfish says there are a couple of moves, but the best one is bishop c4, stopping the queen from going there. And the idea is if they take your pawn, you're going to... Oh, taking the pawn is... Oh, I didn't even see this. You're going to sacrifice your bishop? Because then this is completely winning because this amazing fork. Wow. So bishop c4, I guess, is what he's going to play, setting up this tactic. And so the line that Stockfish says is takes, and then queen e4, cutting off the queen and threatening your own checkmates, which essentially forces a queen trade. And after the queen trade happens, we get this position, which still apparently is good for white. Black's going to, try to bring the rook in, but then you just develop your bishop, and the pawns are messed up, not to mention the king is in the center, which I think is why this is so good for white. I mean, I say so good, it's like a pawn and a half advantage, but... So, yeah, white's doing pretty well. They need to see bishop c4 with this idea. But they have plenty of time, so... Probably very likely that they're going to play bishop c4 here. Should he try to flag? No. No, you can't. It's still way too early to try to flag. That's like... Honestly, I don't think that's ever a legitimate strategy against a 2,800 rated player. I mean, of course, you could put pressure on the clock at some point, but just like the whole win condition being I'm just going to flag them and win on time, not really. Okay, you want to play good chess. You can put some pressure on with the clock, and hopefully they make a mistake, and then that's when you could win. But all right, let's see what's happened in Hikaru's game. So, okay, we had bishop g7, knight c6 was played. Stockfish doesn't like it as much, I guess just because the queen just simply moves, and then you have to move your knight again. So queen c7, move your knight away. Okay, let's go to this game. Giri finally moves. He's also getting lower on time. He does find the best move. Bishop to a4. Just played it just now after 20 minutes. He thought for 20 minutes. But he figured out all the details, I guess, and he plays bishop a4. We already talked about it earlier, but just to remind you, he wants to put his king back here, but you can't do it right now because you would lose this pawn. You can't play bishop c6 immediately because this really powerful move c5. And so bishop a4 buys you time because it forces white to make a rook move, let's just say. Then you can run with your king. Now you've defended this pawn with these pieces. And yeah, that's the way. So good job from Giri there to find that one. What's happening in this game? What did I miss? Okay, Prague's accuracy dropped. He was no longer 100. He's 99.5. Only 99.5 now. Okay, this game is looking not super exciting. Let's check the women's game. This one still nothing has happened. Lots of thinking is going on. It makes sense. There's a lot to think about here with the pawn breaks. This b5 move is really interesting because this is normally how you would want to bust open the king, but there's so much to think about. You have to think about if they take you this way and then try to push by, or if they take you this way and then trade rooks and try to push by, or no, don't trade rooks. What if they just leave it? What if they jump a knight in or a bishop in? What if they just keep attacking you? Like, there's so many things to think about. Very, very complicated position. Okay, let's just hang out on this game for a bit. I want to see if we see bishop c4 here. This is the most interesting game, in my opinion, at the moment. In the last 9 months, Javo's been winning really big tournaments. Okay. Yeah, I mean, some people thrive in high pressure situations and other people kind of struggle and sort of have those, you know, blunder moments, right? So yeah, if he's someone who does well in those, maybe this might be his tournament. I don't know. Where do you see the women games? Yeah, so when you go to the chess.com candidates, at the top, there's like a button you can click and it says women's candidates. So like, see that? There's the main candidates or there's the women's. You just click on the women's one. And then it shows you all and then you select the round number on the right for whichever round you want to see. And you know what? Actually, I want to see, how did Javo win his first game? Because I did not see that one. Okay, so this was round 1. Let's see how this game went. He also played Queen's Gambit. Okay. Oh, they were low on time at this moment in the game. I see that. They still had 10 moves to make, so there was definitely some time pressure. Looks like there was a blunder at some point. Yeah, right here. That was a huge blunder. You had to take this way with check. Why is this a blunder? Because bishop a4, queen g6. So you're attacking the bishop, but I suspect after the bishop moves, is this the idea? What's rook e8? It's not obvious why it was a blunder. Bishop comes. There's just too many weaknesses, I guess, on the light squares. Rook e6. So, okay, this is going to be a win. If you take it, you can't go here. That's checkmate. And if you run in the corner, check, check, checkmate. Wow, nice. Okay. So, interesting game. That was round 1, how he won. Okay, let's go back and see what's been going on. So we did have some moves in this game. She did play b5. Now, the engine doesn't like it, but it's going to lead to some fireworks one way or the other. Black takes. Yeah, so now maybe we're seeing the point of this is that if they try to play a5, there is going to be a bishop sacrifice to open up the king. And that should be interesting. Okay, let's see if any moves have been played. No, we're still waiting on this game. Hikaru did play queen c7, saving his queen and attacking the knight as we kind of expected. Giri played bishop a4, and we're still waiting on the rook to come up. And here, what's happening? So we have a tray. Yeah, this is looking like a draw, most likely. You had a move. Where was the move at? Okay, Hikaru's game, yep. 85. Wait, did he blunder a piece? Is Hikaru going to get a free knight? He's going to get a free knight. The knight's undefended, guys. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's a mistake. Big blunder. There's a rook lined up on the queen. You just simply trade, and then you pick up the queen. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think Hikaru is going to fall for that. It gets labeled as a brilliant move now. That's funny. It's a brilliant move because of what I just said. Okay. Anyway, Hikaru just castles, so he does not fall for that. And the game goes on. Prague's Grand Prix game. I actually didn't even see the Grand Prix game. I did not see that one. Okay, we're still waiting here. I assume we're going to see Bishop C4. Any other moves? No. 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 Okay. It was round 1. Okay, let's see. It was round 1. Let me see. Oh, there's Bishop C4. Okay. So he does play it. Setting up the sacrifice. Still best for black to take the pawn. As we looked at earlier, you take the pawn, you let him sacrifice, right? This is a line. And then you have to play queen e4, creating the checkmate threats, forcing the queen trade. Now, even that's going to be an unpleasant position for Fabiano, but that's the best he has. If he doesn't take the pawn, the only other move that Stockfish says you could try to play would be like rook g4. But then you give white the opportunity to defend, and it's just not as good for black. So he really needs to take this now. And we will keep an eye on the time situation. Okay, I got some moves here. What happened? Okay, this is just a trade. Nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. And black does play a5. So the best move is bishop takes a5. Yeah, giving up the bishop. So what is Stockfish looking at? Takes, takes, the knight jumps in, and look at this c6 square. This c6 square is exactly where the knight is going. And yes, black can trade rooks, but you've got a really big problem here. So the only move for black is knight b6 to defend. But then queen e3, white is still going to keep attacking. Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting game there. Let's keep an eye on that one for sure. All right, let's go back here. Fabi is getting lower on time. Only on move 18. Still has to make 22 moves with 32 minutes on the clock. Do they play from their own homes? No. This is, they're at a location playing. They're not playing online. This is over the board tournament. You have to move the pieces, hit the clock, all that stuff. Write down the moves. Yeah, so definitely not online for the candidates. Nelson playing in the candidate. Yeah. I don't think we're gonna see that in this lifetime, guys. I don't think so. Hey, you never know. You never know. Maybe one day. Be the oldest player to make it to the candidates in the history of chess. Why is Magnus not playing here? Because Magnus didn't want to do the World Championship anymore. So he just kind of stopped defending his title, and that's why you would play in the candidates, is because you want to become world champion, which he's basically is done with that, I guess. Been there, done that for I don't know how many years he was champion, and I guess there's a lot of well, I don't know, I've never been world champion, but I guess there's a lot that goes along with that, you know, and he just kind of didn't want to deal with it. So why do they still have to write down their moves? I think it's just part of the rules. You just write down when you play. I don't know. All right. I feel like was I gonna look up something? Forgot. Was it round one? Round one. Oh, the Prague game. Let's see. Okay, we had a move. What was the move? What was the move? No. No. Knight c4. Yeah, this game is headed for a draw, most likely. There's just not enough of an imbalance in the position for anything meaningful to happen, I don't think. Okay, stay on this game. This is the these are the top two players, right? If you haven't been following, these guys are leading with 2.5 out of 3. Actually, I have the standings. I'll pull it up for you really quickly. So you can see Fabiano and Javo here with 2.5 leading the pack. So this is a very, very important game for the outcome of this tournament. Obviously, it doesn't decide the tournament. There's a lot of games left, but this is a big deal. So, and the way this game is going right now, it doesn't look like we're headed for a draw. Now, if the queens get traded with the line that we saw, queen takes c4, bishop takes e6, queen e4, maybe. But even then, I don't know. There was still a lot of play left, I think. So, okay. Someone had asked about the Grand Prix game from round one. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to pull that up over here. One moment. Okay, so this is round one. This was Prague's game. Okay, so this is not live. This is just a game that already happened. Oh, he did play the Grand Prix. Very nice. Okay, let's take a look. And he goes for the bishop b5 check. Now that's interesting because my experience is against d6 like this, generally the bishop is good on c4. Now, I know you can play bishop b5, but if I was playing this, I would always go bishop c4. So that's interesting that he chooses bishop b5. Okay. And I'm not saying I'm better by playing bishop. I'm just saying this is what I would play, but maybe I can learn something from this too. So bishop b5. Okay. Oh, interesting. Now he goes back. See, this is some of the stuff I don't understand. Like, why, if you wanted to do this, why didn't you go there first? You know, why do you, I don't know, those GM move order things. E6, D3, F5. Yeah, so this is the typical approach in the Grand Prix. Queen E1. Yeah, he's just doing all the normal stuff. You play F5, you play Queen E1, the queen comes over here, you attack the king. He takes. He takes. I don't know why Geary allowed this. This does not look awesome. Although Stockfish says it is the best approach, but this looks very dangerous with the queen in here. Queen d7 though. Okay, keeps the queens on the board. Bishop g5. Jumps the knight. Yeah, this is a nice square for the knight. Look at that. You've got this fork. The pawns can't chase it away. This is a beautiful place for the knight to be. King b8. Knight f6. So he grabs the bishop. This is a very powerful bishop now. Okay, so we do trade a pair of rooks and a queen trade. Okay. So I guess he somehow won the endgame. Won the pawn there. That was a mistake. And rook e6. Ooh. Yeah, it was a time pressure mistake, looks like, from Geary. The knights are both under attack. And you actually Can't save them. Yikes. That's a big mistake, isn't it? Oh, okay, okay. You can't take this because your rook is hanging. Oh, so he actually... Maybe that's why he played it. He thought he had that, but h5, h6, the pawn just goes. And now the king is coming up. The king is coming over, and he wins because if you try to stop it, check, the king moves. Oh, very sneaky idea, guys. So, okay, this is actually really helpful. When you're in endgame and you're trying to promote a pawn, but there's a rook behind it, if you can get your rook in between, that's how you can flush the rook away. So the way you do it is throwing in this check. It doesn't matter where this king moves to. Then you can go rook h6, cutting off this. And even though they can check you, you can sneak around like this, and eventually you get away, and now you can get the queen. They can check you one more. Well, sorry, they can check you one more time if they want, but you just hide over here, and they can't stop you. So, yeah, really nice. Okay, so that was round one. But yeah, that's a pretty cool endgame too. Okay. All right, so let's see if anything's happened here. Nothing yet. Anything here? Nothing yet. Anything here? Nothing yet. Everybody's thinking. Nothing yet. Okay. Does Chessmood's French attack work at this level? Yeah. I mean, probably. I think if these guys studied it and prepared to play that, yeah. The thing is, the openings that these guys are playing, they spend lots of time like studying them ahead of time, and they look into all these different variations, and they find things that like, okay, I like this. This is very likely to happen. I could play this in this situation. So if they spend the time to study the French attack, let's just say, sure, they could definitely play it and have success. It's more of a question of like, what are they comfortable with? What do they want to spend the time on? And what do they think they could surprise their opponents on, right? Because their opponents are doing the same thing. So there's like almost like a game within a game at this level that doesn't exist even at my level, right? This idea of like, well, I've seen Fabiano play this opening, so I'm going to avoid that and play this instead. Well, Fabiano is also thinking that, well, my opponent generally plays this, but they're probably going to, and this just back and forth of like, let's play this and let's study this. And sometimes you get these situations like we saw in this game where Javokir was like not even thinking. Fabi's spending like 11 minutes, 9 minutes, 8 minutes, 17 minutes, 15 minutes just to get to a position like this that's relatively equal, right? So you could say, well, White won the opening battle in this game. But, so yeah, I don't know if that answered the question, but there's a lot going on. Would love to see some coverage of some great old matches like Mikhail Tal's games. Yeah, actually that's a good, I'm glad you said that. I found some older books with like some really crazy games, and I want to start doing some more of those at some point. So yeah, I'm glad you said that. It's on the to-do list. Just need to find some time to do that. But yeah, thanks for pointing that out. All right, they are on move 18, guys. They're on move 18. I wonder if I could put a move counter for you guys up here. That'd probably be actually easy to do. Let me see if I can do this real fast. Just so you can see the moves. So let's go with this one. Move counter. Okay, it's going to look a little bit weird just for a second, guys. Just bear with me here. I will fix it soon. Hold on. Okay. You wondered what my screen looked like. There you go. Maybe I'll just do like this. Let me see if this is going to work. Whoa. What is happening? Did you guys hear that? It just sounded like 20 moves were played. What in the world? Okay, I don't know if this is going to work, but this is the move counter here. Let me just see if this is going to work. We'll see if... Yeah, cool. In theory, that should work. Okay, there's the move counter. Which game just played like a million moves? Not this one. Oh, okay. Whoa. These guys just blitzed out like 10 moves in a row. No, yeah, they didn't even think for all these moves. So, okay. This was traded. This was played. This was played. This was captured. They're going for a draw. They're headed for a draw. King E3, G6, King D4, Bishop D3. This is an opposite color bishop ending where nobody's going to be able to do anything. So this game is over. This is definitely a draw. Yep. It's going to happen right now. They're going to go back and forth. Okay. One more time, and that'll do it. Yep. It just ended. Okay. So not really much to talk about in this one, I don't think. They both played really great, 99 accuracy. Generally speaking, as black, you're happy with the draw. So I guess Prague is okay with that. All right. Okay, so in this is the women's game that we were following. Anna does sacrifice the bishop. Jumps in with the knight like we talked about. And I assume she's going to play knight c6. This is the most logical looking move. Apparently, Stockfish says knight c4 also makes some sense. But from a human standpoint, I think you pretty much have to go with knight c6. Yeah, this is definitely the move that I would play here. We'll see if she does that. Andre still deciding on moving the rook, or there is the idea of playing c5 and letting this happen, which I guess is what he's spending all this time thinking about. Hikaru's game, nothing really crazy is happening. They traded that. Okay. And we're still waiting. Ooh, Fabi's down to 18 minutes. Guys, 18 minutes. He's on move 18. He's got to get to move 40. He has to make 22 moves in less than 18 minutes. Yikes. Meanwhile, Javokir has an hour and 15 minutes. Yikes. Well, I mean, we'll see. Like, because once the queens come off, it's probably going to be easier for him to play faster, but still, that's an awful lot of moves. That's an awful lot of moves. Are you open to playing your subscribers again? Improved a lot since the last time you allowed us to challenge you. That's 5-minute game sound. Maybe at some point. We're not doing that right now, but maybe one day. I'm not 100% sure on that. Also, inside Chess Vibes Academy, we might do some like special things like that, maybe like where I play against members or something. So we'll see. Right now, I'm just focusing on watching these games. Yeah, I'm worried about Fabi's time, guys. I'm just watching the seconds tick away. I still feel like there's a lot of game left to be played. Like, I don't see that we're headed to like a forced draw or anything. So I don't know. This is going to be really interesting here pretty soon, I think. Okay, Stockfish doesn't like it. Now, that was the second engine option, so it's not an awful blunder, even though it's getting labeled with a miss symbol there. Stockfish wanted him to take the pawn. allow the sack and play this. So now he does stop the sacrifice though, right? If Javo tries this, he walks into rook e4, which is a fork. So the sacrifice on e6 no longer works. However, you didn't take the pawn, which means now he can just defend the pawn with bishop e3, and you don't actually get this pawn. And then the game goes on. Bishop b7, rook comes over. The other thing is rook d1. And then after this, now bishop e3. And after the trade, you get this. But this looks very unpleasant for black. Your queen is under attack. You move it somewhere. You've got both of these bishops. You've got the queen. Black's pieces just look really awkward. I don't like this, really. I really don't like this. Now, it could be that Fabi was considering this. He noticed the sacrifice, and he just felt like after queen e4 takes, this was just not going to be a pleasant position, and he just really didn't want to play that, and he couldn't find any other ideas, and so he just went with rook g4. I don't know. Let's go back to the live game. So here's the live position, and we'll see what Javo is going to do. Okay. Meanwhile, Hikaru's game. Nothing really happened. All right. Nothing has happened here. Okay, so women's game. Bishop was sacrificed. The knight jumped over. And she did choose knight c6. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Okay. We get a trade and knight b6. So this is the line that the engine had pointed out, where you stop the rook from coming in by putting your knight on b6. And now it's a question of how is Anna going to get the queen into the attack. So the obvious move is like something like queen a5, I guess. But Stockfish doesn't like it because after the bishop moves, you can throw in a random check. But if the king gets over here, I guess there's just nothing to really do. And you did sacrifice a piece, right? So you kind of have to make sure your attack doesn't just die out. So this is kind of a critical moment. Stockfish says queen e3 is the better option. And after bishop d6, you start throwing your pawns forward. And apparently this is a very dangerous fork. Stockfish says queen h6 to attack the queen, to force the queen off this diagonal. Queen f3. Very interesting game. I'm going to go back to the live game because it's getting... We're going down a rabbit trail. But yeah, this is a interesting one. Okay. Back here. Okay, obviously Javo's going to probably take his time. He's got an hour and 12 minutes, so no reason to rush this position. And nobody else has made any moves. Okay, so we'll keep it right here for now. You guys think Fabi's going to lose? Let's do a poll. Let's do a poll. All right, who's going to win this game? I'm going to say Fabi or Javo. Okay, what's your vote? What's the percentage going to be? %86% say Javo's going to win. He does go with bishop e3. Stockfish agrees. That's the move. You defend your pawn. And now Fabi has to come up with some moves. And he's got an awful lot of moves. We're on move 19. He has to get to move 40. He's got 16 minutes. Yikes. And there's no increment until you get to move 40. There's no bonus time. Very dangerous situation. There's a lot of pressure on Fabiano right now. If he is able to hang on to this game and get a draw, that would be huge. If not, Javokir is going to take the lead with 3.5 out of 4, which is insane, actually. Oh, add an option for a draw. Yeah, I guess I should have put that in there. It's okay. I just wanted to see kind of like roughly what the consensus was. All right, let's check in on the other games. Has anyone else made a move? Not yet. Not yet. She does play Queen E3. Okay, so following the engine line so far, with the idea being C4, C5, because if you can get this in, right, and chase the knight away, this is extremely dangerous with your rook coming down here, right? Skewering this, you're going to win the rook. So that's a big deal. C4, C5 is a big threat. Okay. Fabi's down to 14 minutes. Let me see if I can pull up the video over here.
Understandably so, the most.
Oh, they're looking at a different game right now. No, this is definitely the most interesting one because of the time situation. Can I flip the board to whose turn it is? Interesting. We could do that. I don't know. It might be confusing for people to flip too often, but every once in a while we could do that. So this is for what Fabi is seeing. I guess it doesn't look so bad from this perspective. What is king? His king. I just don't like his king. I just feel like this e file, this d. Now that you didn't take the pawn, you have to worry about d5 busting open the e file. You got to be really careful with this, right? And the 12 minutes on the clock is a big deal. I'm concerned. I am concerned. Okay, let's do a poll on flipping. All right, let's do a poll. Should we stay? Okay, hold on. Which board perspective? And I'm going to give you options of white's perspective, black's perspective, flip on each turn. Okay, there's your poll. So Fabi makes a move, finally. He goes with bishop d5, which the engine says is okay. Relatively good option. Flip it every 10 seconds. Flip it 90 degrees. Okay, so actually pretty close between keeping it on white's perspective and flipping it on each turn. Very close. I'm gonna give it a few more minutes. Vote what you guys would like. So since it's white's turn, I'm flipping it back to white. So we could keep doing this. We flip each time. Now the issue is if they both get into time pressure, I'm obviously not going to flip it because we're just going to be constantly flipping. But right now we could flip because there's going to be some time in between each move. So, and then this is if we just keep it from white's perspective. Okay. Looks like the majority is saying let's keep it at a white's perspective, which I think does make sense. You can sort of track the game better if you're just staying from one side. Okay, so we'll keep it on whites. Although the flipping was a close second. Thank you guys. All right, so we're keeping it on white's perspective. Fabby goes with bishop d5. Stockfish says you just defend and you bring another piece into the attack. That's the move. You could also grab the pawn. Nothing wrong with grabbing the pawn. And after this, then you just go back and you basically say, hey, I got a pawn. Now I'm ready for an endgame where I'm going to win. But Stockfish actually prefers bringing the rook here as a stronger option. Okay. So let's check really quickly on the other games. Anything happening here? Hikaru plays rook b8. Nothing really crazy is going on yet. Wow, Andre's spending a ton of time here. He's really trying to figure out what's going on with the difference between these moves. Queen e3 was played, and we're still waiting on that. Okay, we're going to stay here. This is the most interesting one, I think. Grabbing the pawn feels like a step off the gas. Yeah, so this is a mistake I have made so many times in my games where I'm playing good chess, I'm building up a nice attack, and then at some point, there's a moment like this where it's like, okay, I could grab some material. In this case, it's a pawn. Sometimes when I'm attacking, it's like I could bring my knight in, get a fork, and win a rook, win the exchange or something. And it's very tempting, right, to just pause your attack and just do that. The issue is you've then let off the gas and you give your opponent time to kind of recover. And yeah, you get a little bit of material, but then they get active pieces and they start making threats. And it's like the whole dynamic of the game sometimes changes. And so that is why what I have learned with the help of Stockfish over the years is like a lot of the time, if you have an aggressive position and you're building an attack, one of the best things you can do is just keep up the pressure. And this is a perfect example. This is an okay move, but the best move is just rook c1. Just keep bringing more pieces into the attack and don't worry about random pawns. So we'll see what Javokir decides to do. And I'm also curious if he's going to play sort of quickly with the idea to keep the pressure on Fabby, or is he going to slow down and let him use this time to potentially think, right? Yeah, the rook can't take the bishop because there's a queen here defending it. That's why. Is Javo a pawn grabber? No, I don't think he is. From what I've seen, the very little that I've seen of his games, I don't think he's going to take the pawn. We did have a move in the women's game. Yeah, bishop d6. This is what Stockfish says is the way. You get away from the knight, you just defend the pawn, you can tuck your king over here, and you're shielded from any attacks this way by the bishop. So yeah, that makes sense. Okay, we have a move. He plays rook c1. All right. So very nice. He evaluates the pawn grab and says no thanks, and goes with the Stockfish recommendation of keeping the attack going, bringing a piece that's not really doing anything into the attack. I like it. I like it a lot. So rook c1. And Fabby, again, is on the clock with 11 minutes. We're on move 20. As a reminder, he has to get to move 40 with 11 minutes. So essentially, he's roughly down to 30 seconds per move. Obviously, you don't have to spend it in that order. You could spend all, 8 minutes and then move really quickly or whatever you want. But on average, he's down to 30 seconds per move. So very tough situation for Fabby. Because this is a complicated position, right? This is not super simple. There's a lot going on, lots of things you could potentially mess up. So I don't know. Okay, you just joined. What happened that made Fabi spend so much time? Yeah, so I think he was surprised in the opening, right around here. So the main move is bishop b3, but Javo played bishop d3, and it was right here that Fabi started spending tons of time. He spent 11 minutes to play this move. Then he spent another 10 minutes to play this move. A couple moves later, he spent 8 minutes to play this capture. He was trying to decide between taking with the queen and the pawn. Then here, he spent 17, almost 18 minutes before he played knight to b3. And then there was 2 brilliant moves in a row. c6, sacrificing the rook. Fabi spent, let's see, more time here. After this, knight d4, again sacrificing the rook. Spent 15 minutes before he decided to not take the rook. So all of these decisions earlier was where all the time went. And then again here, critical moment of like, do you take the pawn? Do you play this to threaten checkmates? He decided on f5, spent 17 minutes there. And then again, 18 minutes here. So all of these things, and now he's down to, 10 minutes. And he has to play the rest of the game. 20 more moves at least. So not looking good. I think it was some really nice opening preparation from Javokir is what it seems like. Because he wasn't spending any time on those earlier moves. Like none. He didn't start spending any time until move 17. Which is why he has so much time. So yeah, the move count is over here where my mouse is moving around. That's the move counter. I guess I could put some text up there to make it clear. Let me see how easy that is for me to do. How do I add text? Let's see. Let me try this. Let me see. I don't know. Should we do that? Is that fine? Does that work, guys? Is that clear enough? Okay. 7 minutes. Fabi, you gotta move, dude. You gotta make a move. The thing is, if you leave yourself like a few minutes, you'll be able to at least avoid obvious blunders, right? But if you only leave yourself like 30 seconds and you have to play like 10 or 20, 15 moves, like you're going to just blunder something obvious. And so he has to at some point realize like, hey, I'm going to just have to make a decision here and move on. And now, yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously it's tough, right? Because there's a lot of pressure and you don't want to just blunder something. So 6.5 minutes. Okay, he makes a move. He finally makes a move. Bishop e7. It's a good move. It's a good move. But I also feel like this is the kind of move that you got to just play it. I mean, it's probably not a blunder. It's probably a decent move. Like, you got to just play it. I don't think you spend 5 minutes there. When you only have 11 minutes left, I don't think that's the moment you want to spend 5 minutes. But I don't think I should really be telling the number 3 player in the world how to play chess. Okay. So Stockfish says bishop f4 is the way to go. You kind of isolate the rook over here, cutting it off. You add some potential threats on the c7 square. You open up your queen. A lot of nice things about that move. That being said, bringing this other rook over somewhere, also totally fine. Let's see what it says about the pawn grab at this point. Yeah, even that is still okay. Not as good as bringing in the other pieces, but you could grab the pawn here and it wouldn't be bad. All right, let's check the... Oh, that was the draw. Sorry, that's not the one. Okay, this women's game, we're still waiting for a move. Giri, okay, well, they have a move here. We have a move, finally. He played rook d2. Giri goes king b8. Yeah, this is the way. Okay, so that's kind of what we expected there. All right. Hikaru's game, what's going on? So the queen comes over. The bishop goes back. I don't really see too much worth talking about here. Yeah, I think we stay on Fabi's game. Okay, we have a move. He plays king f8, and he played it quickly. He played it almost instantly. Oh, he took the pawn. Javo does take the pawn. Okay. So he decides now's the time. Fabi gets away from the diagonal, which Stockfish says is fine. Not the best move, but pretty close. Okay, that's fine. Best move apparently was h5, but this is fine. So Fabi plays a good move. He's still only on move 21, though. So we have a long ways to go. Now you have to worry about this passed pawn. Stockfish says the best thing is just go back to c4. And I'm actually wondering, why are you giving this up? What's the idea if they just take the pawn? Apparently that's a blunder. You lose the game. Bishop h6 check. You trade. The queen can't take because the back rank is now exposed. If this takes, oh, beautiful queen sacrifice. And again, the back rank leads to a checkmate. Wow. Wow. So that is fascinating. That's why you just play bishop c4 and you say, go ahead, take my pawn. So that's very interesting to keep in mind. Okay. That didn't happen, but that's something to pay attention to. Whew. Okay, we have some moves coming in on one of the games. Let's see which one it is. Okay, Hikaru's game, they traded the bishops. Nothing crazy there. And oh, that was it. That was it. Okay. All right. Do you guys want me to keep following the other games or just stay on Fabi's game? What do we want? Keep checking like I'm doing or just stay on Fabi's game? Let me know in the chat. You like checking in? Okay. We'll just do quick checks and then we'll primarily stay on this one. Okay. Cool. So yeah, I mean, I guess he's going to just go back. I assume he'll see that. It's not super complicated. I mean, if you're thinking about this check and you're thinking about making a trade here, like you're going to notice the back rank pretty quickly. So I definitely think both players will see that idea. You could also play bishop b5. Oh, he does play bishop b5. Interesting. I'm a little surprised. He didn't set the trap. But this way he just keeps it defended and you keep more pieces on the board. There's not even an option for a trade. Okay, Fabi plays quickly as he needs to. 11 seconds to play bishop f6. So I think what he was doing with those 5 minutes that he spent earlier was kind of figuring out a plan for where he wanted to hide his king and how he was going to set up his pieces. And now that he spent the time to figure that out, he's making the moves quickly. So he knew he wanted to play king f8, bishop f6, probably tuck his king on g7, and he thinks that that's a pretty safe place for the king. Okay, so that's interesting. So yeah, now it's a question of what is Javokir going to do? Stockfish just likes a simple rook d1, bring the rook to the center. Also bishop c4, although it's not as good now because the tactic doesn't exist anymore. Right? If you do this now and they take the pawn, yeah, it's not the same as before. You could still go there, check, but now there's bishop g7. There's no more crazy tactics on the back rank. So I don't know. I think I don't know if he didn't see it or he just didn't like it for some reason, but I'm kind of surprised that he didn't try that one earlier. Would have been an interesting one. Okay, anyway. Bishop f6. Obviously, white has plenty of time here. He's probably going to spend some time coming up with a good idea. Babby's about to play bullet. You got that right. He's got 18 moves. You got to make 18 moves in 6 minutes. What's the math on that, guys? Is it 20 seconds per move? I think. That's pretty quick. And this is not, by the way, this is not online. There is no pre-move. You can't pre-move your next move and save some time. You have to actually make it. So it's going to take like at least a second usually to make the move. You're like super quick. You can do it in like half a second or something. If you like start moving before they even hit their clock and then you start getting ready to hit your clock, you can sort of like hit the clock, right after they hit it and maybe save, you only use like a fraction of a second, but usually it's a couple seconds. Is blitz harder to do over the board? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It takes longer to move physically the pieces, take the piece off the board, hit the clock, as opposed to just on chess.com. You don't even have to hit the clock, right? You just move. It automatically hits the clock for you. And you can pre-move. You can pre-move multiple moves. So it's absolutely harder in OTB chess. Why did the women get 30-second increment and the men don't? I didn't even realize that was a... Is that how it works? I did not even know that. Okay. I don't know why they did that. That's a good question. That was new to me. I didn't even know that. So, okay. So Javo is thinking. Let's quickly check the other games, and I'll be right back here. Hikaru's game. They traded the bishops on g7. Yi brings the queen back, and Hikaru plays bishop c8. Kind of a weird move, to be honest. Engine doesn't necessarily love it, but it's not a blunder. This game, Giri plays king b8. Nothing has really happened for a while here. Andre spent 40 minutes. He spent 40 minutes on the rook d2 move. That is crazy. All right. And then the women's game, we are following the exact engine line. So queen e3, bishop d6, and c4 was played, threatening this fork. And we get queen h6 to try to get the queen off of that diagonal so that you're not forking. Okay. All right. Back to Fabi's game where we are still waiting. All right, guys, I'm going to use this moment before we really get into the time scramble to take a short break. I will be right back, but I'm going to leave it here on Javo's game with Fabi in the time pressure situation. I'll be right back. All right, we have some action. What happened? He did bring the rook over. King G7. Wow, he spent 20 seconds exactly. Okay, I'm going to check the games quickly here. 91. I don't know what's happening in this game. Okay, here we go. So rook b2. Oh, sorry. I got to go back. We had to move. Got to stay on top of this one. Bishop c6. Okay. So generally speaking in chess, when somebody is threatening pieces and there's tension where you could make a trade, you could not make a trade, those are the decisions that usually take time. Which is not what Fabi has to do right now, right? He needs to play quickly. So I like this move. Stockfish says the best move is ignoring this and playing h5 and launching your own attack. This is crazy. And if this happens, you just take here, and now you have this diagonal, which is actually looks really good. So h5 is the Stockfish recommended move. But is Fabi going to see that with 5 minutes on the clock and still an awful lot of moves to play? I don't know. I do not know. I think he's in trouble. – 4.5 minutes. Yeah, we're staying right here, guys. We'll check on the other games later. We're staying right here. I don't want to miss this moment. 4.5 minutes and counting. Look at this. Uh-oh. I mean, Stockfish says taking it is not awful. You could just take it. But it really doesn't care about the rook. Stockfish just wants its pawn to go forward. That's really funny. And if you move the rook, let me just see. That's going to lead to this capture and some trading. Oh, he made a move, Hold on, let's go back. What did he play? He played rook a5. So he saves the rook. Does not see the Stockfish idea of sacrificing it. Not a bad move. It's not a blunder. But the eval bar is creeping in White's favor. Little by little here. Stockfish likes h3. Chasing the rook back. And then trading. You could also trade first. You could also play rook c5. Yeah, Rob. 4 minutes for what? 16 moves. So he was at 30 seconds a move, then he was at 20 seconds, and now he's at 15 seconds a move. It's getting worse and worse. Man. All right. While Javo is thinking, let's quickly check in on the other games. So Hikaru's game, 91, knight f6. They're doing some maneuvering here, but nothing's really happening. Everything is defended at the moment. This game, Giri goes with bishop c6, defending the threat as expected. And he's got the bishops against the knights. So if the attack sort of fails, Black is going to have an advantage, which is what we're seeing. And that's kind of what Stockfish is saying. These bishops are going to be better than the knight. This knight's really bad, right? This knight's really bad over here. Okay, and in the women's game, what's d4 is played. So the only issue is you do allow the queen trade, and you did sacrifice a piece. And that's exactly what Stockfish says. Trade the queens, trade the pawns, play rook e8, actually allow c5, sacrifice the piece back, and go into this endgame, which is equal. That's what Stockfish says. We'll see what actually happens, though. All right. Back here, Javo's still thinking. Obviously, he has plenty of time. He has 52 minutes. So he may as well spend some time and come up with a... I mean, if he comes up with a clever idea here, Fabby's not going to have time to figure it out, right? You got to move. You can't spend another 2 or 3 minutes figuring it out. So, okay. He decides to trade, and Fabby recaptures in 2 seconds, which that was a pretty obvious move. So that one is to be expected. Okay, Stockfish says rook c5 is the way to go. I guess the point is, if you take the rook, now your queen is under attack, and you've got these 2 pawns, which look very dangerous. I don't think black wants to do that. If you don't take it and you take here, then there's going to be a trade. And then h3 to kick the rook away from defending. It is pinned. So the only move, wow, according to Stockfish, is sacrificing the rook, then trading here. You can't take it because your rook is going to get captured, so you have to move your king. And now black plays queen c5, and you have a queen and a bishop against a queen and a rook. And you have a little bit of compensation because white's king is now a little bit exposed, but this is still a winning position for white. So even if Fabby sees that, this is good for white. So I don't know. Fabby's going to need something big to happen. He's going to need a big mistake from Javo, I think, if he's going to come back in this game. And with 50 minutes on the clock, like, I don't think it's going to happen. I just don't think it's going to happen. All right, let's check the other games quickly. I don't think we've had any new moves. No, we have not. Okay, stay here. Ah, there you go. Rook c5. He does play it. And Fabby goes with rook d7, which I think, yeah, it's one of the engine moves, so that's okay. But it does allow this move d5, which apparently is white's strongest reply here. Now, let's see if we can figure out why is d5 the move. If they take you, the point is queen f3, and these pawns are really, really weak. And I guess once the pawns start dropping around the king, it becomes very, hard to deal with that. So the move then is rook e4 pinning. And then h4 apparently is the best move. I don't know what that's all about. Okay, I don't know. Sometimes it's not even worth looking at Stockfish's stuff because it doesn't make sense. But d5 apparently is really good for white. If they don't play d5, other moves with the rook that attack the pawn would be close seconds. So this is kind of this seems like the more obvious plan to me as a human that I would consider. Because if you can take this pawn, now you have an endgame with 2 connected pass pawns. Generally speaking, 2 connected pass pawns are going to win you an endgame. Like it's almost impossible to stop 2 connected pawns. So the question would be, does black have a way to defend this? And Stockfish says you have to kind of go with the counterattack here, let him take, and then try to hold on after the dust settles, after all this trading happens. But, oh, apparently you throw in this move and then you take it. I mean, I don't think black's going to survive this endgame, but let's see. Not to mention, he still has to make 14 moves with 3 minutes and 49 seconds on the clock, so... Yeah, so to answer some questions, this is OTB. They're playing over the board. The reason Fabby got into this time pressure situation, I think he was surprised out of the opening. There was the particular moment right here where most players in this position would bring the bishop back to b3. Javo played bishop d3, which I guess was a shocking move. Fabby spent lots of time there. Actually, for the next several moves from here on out, he spent tons of time, particularly in this moment right here. The rook is under attack, so you would think Javo's going to save the rook. No, he plays c6. Brilliant move. Lots to calculate. And so Fabby spent a bunch of time. And then again, knight d4. Again, you want to take a rook? Lots to calculate. Fabby spent a lot of time. And meanwhile, like, Javo wasn't even spending any time at this. He already had, I guess, prepared it or something. And so that's where most of Fabby's time went. And then he was in time pressure for the rest of the game. Now we're at this moment Obviously, 3 minutes and 49 seconds. Okay, d5. He plays the best move. Wow. So he doesn't even go for the pawn. He just busts everything open. And now Stockfish says you either play bishop f4, kind of isolating the rook, cutting it off, or you play queen f3, targeting these weak pawns. So these are the two moves that Stockfish likes. Queen b5 also is a close third. I guess thinking about pushing this guy maybe is the plan. And oh, you are attacking this as well. That's another way to do it. And you're attacking this. Okay, so bishop f4, queen f3, queen b5. These are the plans for white. Fabi obviously is pretty much forced to play almost instantly for the next 13 moves. Does not have a lot of time to work with. So far he's playing okay moves, but even just tiny little things. And now all of a sudden we're up to 2.5 advantage for white. It's almost winning. What would Peter Potzer do here? That's a good question. I like the move bishop f4. I like just kind of like cutting off the rook. I think that's probably what I would think about playing here. I like bishop f4. Queen f3, queen b5, also good. There's probably other good moves too, but targeting these weak pawns seems to be a good plan. Okay, let's quickly check the other games. I don't think we've had much action. We had one move here, c4. Still not too much happening. Okay, Yi is down to 11 minutes. But not quite that low. Whoa, what happened here? So bishop went to c6. c5 was played, which was a mistake apparently. Stockfish says, no, that's not the move. Black captured and queen takes a6. So it looks scary. But Stockfish is saying, nope, queen d5 is a killer move. You defend and you create your own checkmate threat and you hit the knight. Extremely dangerous situation. And Stockfish is saying you can go here. I'm just wondering after f5 attacking the knight. No, then rook d2 and things get really complicated. Wow. Anyway, it's good for black, but it is going to get complicated. Okay. So we'll keep an eye on this game maybe as well. But let's go back to our main event here. And we do have some moves. Okay, so he chose queen f3, one of the engine moves, and Fabi immediately grabs the pawn, which is a big mistake. Look at the eval bar even further. And this is the time pressure, right? You had to make a move quick, but it was not a good move. And yeah, Javo just grabs the pawn. He's going to grab, they're trading now. He's going to grab it with his rook. Only move for white, yes. Forks these guys. Once this pawn is gone, the rook's going to be in trouble. Fabi's got to make 10 more moves. He's only on move 30. Actually, I guess technically that's 11 moves, right? Because he has to make move 30 and then the 10 moves to get to move 40. So he has to make 11 moves, if I'm not mistaken. So 2.5 minutes and you're in a losing position. Not looking good. Not looking good at all. You could just see the difference, right, in the king's position. This king is very safe. This king can just sit here, be totally shielded from any attacks. Meanwhile, once this pawn drops, this king is not safe at all. And I think that's the big difference in the position, right? The extra pawn, yeah, it doesn't mean it's as much. Okay, he goes queen e8 with 2 minutes left. I'm thinking you just take this with one of these pieces, right? Yep, that's exactly. And immediately Fabi plays rook g6 with 1 minute and 59 seconds on the clock on move 31. h4 is played. Yes, Stockfish likes that move a lot. Second choice. Just attacking. Just attacking the king here. You got h5, you got h6. Best move for black is b3, trying to create some sort of counterplay, I guess, with the pawn here. B3, H5, and move your rook somewhere is what Stockfish says Fabi should try. He's down to a minute and a half, guys. He's going to lose on time. He's literally going to flag in this game if he doesn't move. He's got to make 8 more moves. And he's got a minute and 19 seconds. But he doesn't know how to stop this. He's trying to calculate, but he doesn't have time. He's got to make a move. He's got to make a decision. He goes with bishop c3. Okay. So he's sort of on the same line with Stockfish. Like you have to try to do something. But this is an awful lot of moves. You got to take 3 moves. In 3 moves, who knows what's going to happen to this king? That's why Stockfish says, who cares? Just play h5. That's exactly what he does. And I think he is intentionally trying to play quickly, it seems like, to put the pressure on Fabi. Fabi's down to a minute. H6 check, best move. Stockfish says, just keep pushing it. Just keep pushing it. Force the king back. You get this pawn, which is going to cause constant problems for the king. Also, queen g4 check is a good move. Rook c5 is another interesting one to potentially sacrifice the rook, and then your queen and your bishop could clean up maybe. So that's an interesting move. I don't think he's going to play that. I think he's going to probably play h6. Just seems like such an obvious move to me. But queen g4 also looks pretty good, so maybe one of these two. Meanwhile, Fabi has to make 7 moves in 1 minute and 3 seconds. I don't know how that's going to happen, guys. I don't know how it's going to happen. We're going to stay here for right now. We'll check on the other games after this one concludes, because I think this is about to wrap up here pretty soon. Javokir Sindarov. What a performance we are seeing so far. Can he keep it up and close out this game? That is the question. He's got 43 minutes. He could just literally sit here and calculate if he wants for 40 minutes till he finds like a forced win, because it's probably +5. There probably is a forced to win. I don't want to leave the live game. I guess I could look at it. Let's look really quickly. Stockfish says h6 followed by rook b5, or even queen f4 is a good move. I don't know why. What's the idea with queen f4? Oh, we have a move. Let me go back to the game. We have a move. He played queen g4, which was the Stockfish second option. King h8. And now bishop d4 check. Bishop d4 check is the engine recommendation. Takes, puts the king in check. You have to block with f6. But then after h6, it's over. So this move basically wins on the spot. He does play it. Yep. Black's going to take. You have to take. Or I guess he's considering playing f6 first. You could play f6. You could play f6. Okay, he does. He plays f6 first. Interesting. So yeah, white has tons of good moves. The best one is rook c5. Forcing the issue with that bishop. He does play it. Look, this guy is on fire, guys. And Fabi, at this point, rook c6 is the best try, but it's +7 for white. He's got 30 seconds. He still has to make 4 moves. Oh, man. Yeah, this is over, I think. I think this is the end. Is he going to resign? Is he going to lose on time? Is he going to try to just play 4 moves really quickly and see what happens? Like, I don't know. Yeah. He might just be flagging here. Down to the final seconds. And it looks like he's lost on time. Now, I'm not watching the live feed. Did he just resign? Yeah. Okay. So let's just recap what happened for if you missed it, okay? There was this particular moment where when I look at the database, the opening database, okay, most masters are playing the move bishop to b3. So what I suspect happened is this is what Fabi is familiar with. Probably this is what he studied. And when Javo played bishop d3, it was like, whoa, what is this move? This is not what I was expecting. And this is where he started thinking a lot. And Javo wasn't thinking at all. Okay, you can see the time. Look at Javo's time. He's at an hour and 54 minutes. Meanwhile, Fabi's time is going down. Look at this. Huge amount of time here. Brilliant move that was played in like a minute, basically. Which tells me this must be something that Javo studied ahead of time. And let's just not forget, like Fabiano is known for his opening preparation. So to be able to surprise him like this is a huge accomplishment in and of itself. And so Fabi gets really low on time. Now he's down to 11 minutes. He's got to play a whole bunch of more moves. And small inaccuracies here and there just added up over time until this big mistake at the end. And his king just couldn't handle it, right? So this means, by the way, let me just show you guys. Let's say he tries to trade the piece. It's not even that you take this. There's rook c8, which is a pin and wins the queen. So rook c5 was kind of a dual threat of I'm going to pin your queen and I'm going to take here. That's why Stockfish says rook c6 was the only move. But then you could simply trade. And this actually leads to a forced mate in 5. You could try to stop it temporarily, but queen e6, now you're threatening a checkmate here. And let's say they try to stop that by bringing the queen back. Queen f7, there's too many checkmates, and white will win. Okay, so that's why he won. So this means Javakir Sindarov is at 3.5 out of 4 points. Completely leading. Fabi drops to 2.5 out of 4. Good news for Hikaru to make a comeback, kind of, although someone has to stop Javo from winning, or he's just going to win the tournament, right? So, man. Okay, let's go to the Hikaru game. Ooh, and we do have a time situation happening here. So let's back up just a few moves. They were playing some maneuvering. Hikaru strikes with d5. Drops his knight all the way back to g8. Interesting move. Knight to c3. So Hikaru has 33 minutes. Wei Yi, 5 minutes. And he has to make 15 moves. So another time pressure situation. Let's see if Hikaru can work some magic here. And yeah, this is going to... Let's actually watch this from Hikaru's perspective. So let me flip it. Okay. And actually, no, I'll keep it on white because I have the accuracy things there, which would need to be flipped too. Yeah, we'll keep it from white. That's fine. All right. Let's see what else is happening in this game. Okay, what's going on here? So queen d5 did happen, and f3 was played, trying to stop the threats here. I'm noticing his knight is hanging. Can you guys tell me why he can't take the knight? Well, you need these pieces to guard here, right? So if you take the knight, you're going to get checkmated like this. So he's not worried about his knight, but black still has a great position. Stockfish says rook c7 is the move. Just put your rook there. Deals with this, and black is doing fantastic. In the women's game, kind of a time pressure situation here. Let's see what happened. So they did take... Oh, they allowed the queens to stay on the board. Wow. Ooh, that was actually a big mistake. So black needed to trade the queens. They did not do it. And by allowing the queens to stay on the board in c5, white is totally winning. White's just totally winning. Rook a8, c takes d6. This is over. Question is why? Takes. You have this threat. If you try to take, there's a forced checkmate. Queen b8, queen d8, queen e7. Wow, that's kind of cool. So that's the idea. You don't want to trade there. And I guess it's just over. Unless white blunders, this game is over. The attack is too strong. So yeah, it's a good illustration. When somebody is attacking your king, if you have the opportunity to trade queens, you should probably do it. It's going to make your life so much easier. And so that was the really big mistake here. They didn't trade the queens, and now the queen is going to be the piece that puts the king away, essentially. Okay? All right, back to the Hikaru game. Hikaru is still thinking. He has 30 minutes. And Wei Yi has 5 minutes to make 15 moves. All right, we will come back. A move was played here. Queen takes d8. Wow, guys, a beautiful move here. White to play. There's one move that is a fantastic move for white. What is it? Really great move. What's the move for white? Does anybody see it? Does anybody see it? It's rook takes a8. She plays it. She literally plays it right as I was about to move it. Rook takes a8. That's the winning move. The idea is if the queen takes, which is not going to happen. I think they're going to resign here. But if the queen takes, checkmate. That is a beautiful checkmate. The pawn is supporting the knight. The knight is supporting the rook. The rook is delivering the checkmate on the king and controlling all the escape squares here. Everybody's playing a role. It's just a beautiful checkmate. So, very nice. I think this game is over. Black is probably about to resign. Because even if you take the rook, there is check. King moves. Check. Check. Wait, is there a checkmate? Am I missing something? Check. Ah, queen a6 is just checkmate. Okay, that's the checkmate right away. There you go. So yeah, it's over, guys. This one is over. Well played by white. And yeah, I'm going to leave this one and go back to the Hikaru game. Okay, we're going to stay here. Hikaru just played his move, 97. And Wei Yi has 5 minutes to make 15 moves. Now, it's an equal position. He plays rook c1. Hikaru immediately responds with queen d8. Would not surprise me if Hikaru tries to put some pressure now on Yi. This might be just what he needs to try to climb back into this tournament. A win here would be a great way to do that. Time situation is not quite as bad as what Fabi was in, but still, 5 minutes is not a lot for 15 moves or 14 moves. So, he's thinking 4.5 minutes. Stockfish says you just play h3 or b3 would be fine. f4, any of these pawn moves are okay. There is a passed pawn here with a queen behind it, but it's not like, you know, that's going to go anywhere. You can always put your rook there and probably capture it if it pushes too far. This is kind of a weakness, but it's also defended and not that easy to attack unless you can get your knight magically to c5, but you can't do that because of the rook. So there's a lot to think about. There's a lot to think about. 3 minutes, 50 seconds. He's going to have to make a decision here. He's going to find himself in the same situation Fabi was in, where there's not enough time left to play the moves, right? Yeah, Fabi lost. We looked at that already, so that game is over. I don't know. Looks like Hikaru is going to have some good winning chances here because of the time pressure situation. So Stockfish says put the bishop on e6 to keep this pawn nice and supported. That's the move. Also, rook b4. I don't exactly know why. Or queen b6, offering the queen trade. I'm willing to bet Hikaru is not going to play queen b6. He doesn't want to trade queens right now. He wants to keep the game complicated, create some sort of weird position in the next 13 moves that Yi is either going to spend all his time trying to figure out or potentially blunder in. So how is Hikaru going to do that? Well, I don't know. But bishop e6 seems like a reasonable move. Just put the bishop to defend this nice and solid. Otherwise, I don't know. Rook b4 seems like a move that would make your opponent think a little bit. All right, why did you go there? What's the rook doing? So maybe he will play rook b4. Let's see. Must be a nightmare being low on time against Hikaru. Yeah, probably. Have I ever played any of these guys in Title Tuesday? No, I don't generally play too many Title Tuesdays, so I haven't really had too many opportunities to play against them. So I have not. Okay, while Hikaru's thinking, let's quickly check this game. We have some action here. So rook c7 was played by Giri, defending. Very good. The knight tries to come back into the game. Stockfish agrees. Rook d8, best move. Knight f2 and c4. So yeah, Giri is playing everything perfectly. And now Stockfish says just play f5, throw the pawns forward. You're really just seeing how the bishops are starting to take over the game here, right, against the knights. And this is why it's risky giving up your bishops for the knights. And we're seeing that in this one. Yeah, this game did end after that move. Okay, so we don't have to check that. And Hikaru is still thinking of how to... I think he's thinking of some, clever, complicated idea, basically. Am I going to play live today? Nope, this is going to be my stream instead. Just watching the rest of these games. Good question, Ryan. Yeah, I thought I would do something different just since when I saw that Fabiano was playing Fabo, I really wanted to watch that game, so I figured I would just commentate it. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be streaming other ones or not. Okay, what happened here? So Karu does play bishop e6, and immediately knight c4 is played. So that's interesting because he's taking advantage of the pin. He can do this and now try to get the knight to a better square. Hikaru immediately plays knight f5, so he is definitely trying to put the pressure on. And now Yi has to make a quick decision. He's got 3 minutes. He's got to make 12 moves. And where do you move your knight? Do you even move the knight? You don't have to move it. He does move it to d6. Which, is it a sacrifice? Is that a pawn sacrifice? Or am I crazy? It does look like a pawn sacrifice. Oh, there is queen d4 check. And wow, what is going on? So if Hikaru takes it, the check might happen. The king moves. And if you take here, are you able to do that? I guess you can because you have a check and you actually win the game in that situation. So he could get his pawn back. So that's an interesting move. Okay. Now, Stockfish says it's still the best line to do that. And okay, Hikaru plays it. And I guess you got to take and allow this to happen. So Yi needs to play 10 more moves with 3 minutes. Yeah, the nice thing for him, though, is some of these moves are pretty obvious, right? Like this check was obvious. Probably this capture is obvious. Now, Hikaru could play f6 instead of moving the king. And that's going to lead to some interesting things because now you have to play knight e4 most likely. Okay, we have. I'm going to stop analyzing. We have some moves. So he played king g8. Did play king g8. So yeah, Stockfish says take the pawn, and maybe you go into that endgame. So let's see. Takes. That's a dead draw. No chances for Hikaru to do anything fancy there, I don't think. So if Hikaru wants to try to play for a win, he's going to have to come up with something else. Now, I don't know what Yi's thinking of. I think you got to take the pawn. I don't know why he's not taking it. But there you go. There you go. He's got 2 minutes. Yeah, unfortunately for Hikaru, you have to take this. If you don't take it, you're losing because knight f6 is too powerful. Any other move is just losing. You can't let the knight go in there. So he has to trade at least the bishop for the knight. And then this is what I think he's going to do. He's probably going to take this and then not trade the queens. Because if you leave the queens on the board, there's a lot of potential for tactics, for mistakes. Things can happen, especially in a time scramble situation. So I'm going to say he's going to take with the bishop and then move the queen somewhere. Queen b6 check might be the move, or I don't know where. Queen f6, maybe queen f4. Like, there's a lot of places. Queen b4. There's a lot of places he could go. So I think we're going to see that. I think that's what he's thinking about. Okay, there you go. He takes it. Obviously, he's going to recapture. And what does Hikaru have in his mind? If he wants a draw, he trades the queens. And he's happy with the draw. I don't think he wants a draw with the time situation. So Stockfish says queen b6 or queen f6 would be the next best options here if you're not going to trade. Keep in mind, 2 minutes and 13 seconds, still has to make 7 more moves. So it's not a ton of time. If Hikaru can even generate one more kind of tricky, trappy idea right in these next 7 moves, you never know what might happen. So let's see what he comes up with. I like queen f6 personally. You're putting pressure here. You're keeping the king kind of guarded. Now, I guess the problem is queen d4. What do you do against queen d4? Yeah, queen d4 is going to be the move that Yi's going to play, which is pretty obvious against anything, though. I don't know. I don't know, guys. Okay, we have a move on the other game, but I don't really want to go here. There is some time pressures as well, but I want to see this game at the moment. Okay, we'll check quickly since Hikaru is thinking. We'll check quickly. So f5 was played. He moved his knight back. Andre's down to 5 minutes. Still has to make 13 moves. So this is a bit of a time scramble as well, although this game is basically almost over. As long as Giri doesn't blunder something, he's going to win. Queen e5 is good. Queen c5 is good. Queen d4 is good. Yeah. Are we still thinking? Giri thinking. All right. Hikaru is definitely trying to come up with something. What's it going to be? I bet what Hikaru's thinking is, after I move my queen somewhere and queen d4 happens, where do I move my queen to create the most confusion, right? That's what he needs to come up with. So I'm expecting he's going to move his queen somewhere, and then Yi's going to play queen d4, and then Hikaru's going to immediately move it somewhere else. And then Yi's going to have to, either if he saw it, he's going to know what to do. If he's surprised, he may have to think about it, right? So that's what I think Hikaru's probably contemplating right now. Now, I'm not a super grandmaster, so I can't really tell you with confidence what he's thinking about, but if I had to guess, that's what I would say. All right. Queen c5 was played. It's a good move. Stockfish likes queen e5 a little bit better. Queen c5 is very good. Pins the knight here. Andre has 4 minutes and 50 seconds for 13 moves, so he's got to kind of pick up the pace. There's not much he can do. This is just very well defended. If you could magically transport your rook here, you would actually have some threats, but you can't do that. You cannot do that. Stockfish says the best thing is h3, which doesn't look like a very great move, but apparently that's all you can really do in this position. He goes rook e2, okay. Stockfish says bishop f6, bishop g5. Bring the rook over. Any of these moves are very good for Geary. Yeah, knight a4. Why didn't he play knight a4? That's a good question. Because knight a4 you can't take because of the checkmate. The issue with knight a4 apparently is queen a3, pinning the knight to the queen. That's the issue. You don't want to trade queens, I guess. And yeah, well, it's not even a trade. It would just be a blunder. Yeah, that's why knight a4. Good question, though. All right, let's go back to the Hikaru game. I want to be ready when he decides to play his little trick, which I think is coming. Either that or he just decides to draw and trades everything and we see a draw. But I'm expecting he's going to try one last trick. I mean, you may as well. You may as well try the trick before the time control. And if it doesn't work, you get a draw. If it works, you win, right? You have nothing to lose, really, if you're in Hikaru's situation. So why not come up with some clever trick? "15 minutes, plenty of time for Hikaru. He's calculating his next like 3 or 4 moves, I'm sure. So I think as soon as he moves, we're going to see a whole bunch of moves in rapid succession. That's the moment I'm waiting for. Oh, there you go. So he went with the check. Queen d4 was played immediately, and now I expect Hikaru is going to play something relatively quickly here. Oh, he takes it. Okay, so I guess this is going to a draw. There's not really much. Yeah, this is definitely a draw here. He's going to try to come down, but even just h3, you tuck the king here, you defend with your rook. There's no tricks here. I don't think there's any tricks here. And that may be what Hikaru concluded, that there was just no tricks anywhere else. And so he's just like, I'll just do this, probably take a draw. You could argue that, I mean, generally speaking, if you can get both of your rooks on the second rank, it is dangerous. But in this case, for example, yeah, he plays h4. I just expect he's going to put his king and the rook defends. And as long as your rook is defending, there's not much Hikaru can do. He can try to come down behind and check. But again, the king's just going to run up here. And what are you going to do? So he's probably going to go here. The rook's going to defend. And it's a draw. Like there's just nothing happening. Okay. I'm going to do a quick poll, guys. Yeah, he does come down. All right, do the poll. Yeah, so Hikaru's going to try to chase the rook away, but of course there's a safe place for it to sit right there. And I guess, let's see, check here, check. There is a checkmate, but then you just move your rook and you run away. So he actually doesn't have anything. And Yi only needs to make 2 more moves. So he's got time to like think about the best option here. All right, so you guys would prefer that I just play rapid games instead of covering the candidates going forward? Okay, that's helpful. So I won't do this anymore. We'll play games next time. I just was curious. Although a lot of people do like it. It's actually, well, now it's changing. What? Now it's half and half? Really? Interesting. So yeah, if there's like a really interesting round like today, maybe I'll do some more. I probably won't do all of them, but if there's an interesting... Okay, so Hikaru is going to try for one last trick here. Oh, that is actually a very interesting move. Because if he does pick off that pawn, all of a sudden White's king is not as... Oh, and he has to make this move. He has to make this move in 20 seconds. He has to make the final move in 18 seconds. Stockfish says you got to play rook a1 or rook a to a5. He's got to make a move. Okay. He blunders on the final move. He blundered. On the final move. Hikaru is so tricky. Oh my goodness. I thought there was nothing. I thought there was nothing there. I mean, it makes me wonder, why didn't he just go rook g3? Because now if Hikaru does that trick, you just defend it. But by putting his rook on g5, he allowed Hikaru to be able to do this. And then he had to see that Stockfish was saying you have to come back here and control this rank. But by playing king h2, he takes it. Now, why is it a big mistake? Now, he's got time. He's going to sit here and think, but now he's losing. He's in a losing position. What in the world? That is literally the last move. He had one more move before he got plenty of time. He could figure it all out and get a draw. Oh my goodness. I was not expecting that to happen. I thought we were getting a draw. I was about to go to lunch, and that was the end. But no. Look at Hikaru coming up with this clever trick. Let's see if we can figure out why this is so good for him. So if the king goes back to g1, there's a check. You run. There's a check. You run. Check. Okay, Stockfish is doing its back and forth thing. Okay, then the rook comes down. This is why it's good. And the rooks are going to cause some serious problems for this king. And if you try to run up here, you're running into h4. Rook b2 check. You're losing all your pawns. I mean, I can't believe this happened. The other option is if the king runs up here. Again, rook h1. This h4 move is a big deal. This is a really big deal. So you could try to stop it. But then king g7. You move your rook, let's just say here. What's the deal? Rook e2. Let's say you just go there. He takes it. Basically, this threat is a big deal. And then the fact that this rook is invaded is a big deal. And I don't know if it's enough to win, but it looks like it is. It looks like it is. That's insane. We'll have to see exactly why, because I'm still not exactly sure how it's a win. But I guess just the extra pawn. The extra pawn is a bigger deal than you might think it is. Not to mention his rooks are extremely active. Oh, man. And I guess allowing the back rank was the big mistake, right? Because that's what Stockfish really wanted. It really wanted rook a1 to get control of the back rank. As long as you do that, I guess you're not in too much danger. Oh, boy. I can't believe that just happened. All right, let's check the other game. Are we... Oh, we're at 26 seconds. He's got to make 8 moves in 26 seconds? What is happening? He's got 18 seconds to play 7 moves. I guess Gary's about to win this one. Wow. I do like the time change. I like it. I think it makes these much more interesting moments, right? That you don't have when there's 30-second increment every time. So I actually like that change a lot. Yeah, it just makes it more exciting to watch, which is great for all of us, I think. It adds a lot of stress on the players for sure, but that's part of the reason why I don't play increment games when I live stream, because it's just more interesting to not do that. He's got 14 seconds. He's got to play 7 moves. Okay, he takes it. Oh boy, this pawn is too strong. Black is winning. Not to mention the time situation, but even take away the time situation, Gary just has a winning position. He's gonna take it. He's going to flag, I guess. Okay. Yeah, so well played by Gary. Black loses on time. You really just saw, you know, he had a nice attack, but he had to give up his bishops to get it, and then he missed this bishop a4 idea. If he would have taken with the rook, might have been a different game. Might have been a different game. But by allowing the bishop a4, king b8, basically Black was able to set up this fortress kind of a deal. And all of a sudden, the queen, the bishops just overpowered the knights. And you had all your pieces just attacking one thing that was easily defended. And that's just not going to cut it. So, okay. So we'll hang out here on the final game and see if Hikaru can win this rook ending. This might be a long one. Might be a really long game. Oh man, that is crazy. The last literally the last move, guys. Wow. I remember when I saw this, I thought, no, there's no way that Hikaru is going to be able to do anything in this rook ending, but he still manages to come up with this sneaky idea. And I think Yi just kind of panicked at the end, like you just have to move, right? You have to move or you're going to lose on time. So he decided to go there, and that was the wrong move. That's crazy. Wow. Let's see. So I'm going to bring this over for a second, guys, so we can see the standings, the live standings. Second. Okay. Let's bring this over. So here is where we're at the moment. So Javakir is in the lead with 3.5 after his win against Fabiano. Anish moved up, so he's at 2. Prague drew, so he's at 2. So there's this quite a few people at 2, and then if Hikaru wins, he'll join them at 2. So it's still not over. There's still a lot of games left, but Javokir Sindarov off to a fantastic start. And actually, I do want to look. Maybe we'll do that now. I do want to look at his game. Let me go find it here for a second. I want to look at his game in round. Was it round 3 where he won with black? Where's it at? Where's it at? Here we go. Yeah, this will be good to check out. Okay, so we're going to check it from black's perspective. So this was round 3. All right, guys. Let's see what happened. So Queen's Gambit declined. He plays d4. Oh, I remember. Yeah, there was this piece sacrifice. Look at this. He sacked his piece here to generate an attack on the king. I love that. Opens up the file. E5. Look at the center control with the pawns, threatening a fork. He pushes it anyway, kicks the knight back. Then the rook comes over. And even though he's down a piece, Stockfisher's like, yeah, black's winning. Or has a slight advantage. Not winning, but slight advantage. Queen g5, great move. Queen e7, great move. Now he's got a battery here where there's threats along this area as well. Particularly bishop b4 is very dangerous. So Prague tries to defend. a5. The rook comes up. Slight inaccuracy, but still, black is just taking over the board. I mean, look at this. Down a piece, and it feels like black has more pieces. That's crazy. c5. Okay, bishop takes c5 was even better. But rook takes c5 still keeps the advantage for black. Yeah, and then in the time pressure, look at the clocks. Prague's at 1:50. Black to play. If you haven't seen this game yet, rook takes c2. Look at this crazy sacrifice. What's the point? The point is the knight is guarding the bishop. But the knight is also guarding this square, which is important because if it wasn't guarding this square, we would have a fork on the king and the queen. So by sacrificing here, if the knight were to take you, thank you very much, now you get a fork on the king and the queen. So beautiful move. Obviously, it was a blunder from Prague in the time pressure. And then he just cleans up. And he's way ahead and goes on to win this game. Yeah, beautiful. Really nice game. So, man. Okay, back to the Hikaru game. And Yi does decide to play King G1. Okay, so he's got to try to hold on, which I don't think it's going to happen. Stockfish says Rook B1 check is the way to go. So that's what Hikaru needs to play. We'll see if he finds it. But yeah, this is like I know normally, particularly with single rooks, so like one player has a rook, the other player has a rook, 3 against 2 like this with the kings on both sides, I'm pretty sure that's a draw, like every single time. A relatively easy draw. The fact that Stockfish is giving such a big advantage to black makes me wonder if it's because there's 2 rooks instead of 1 rook. Like, I think that makes the rooks much more dangerous, right? Like, without 2 rooks, there's very little you can do. Because everything that's attacked can be defended by the king, and you can't ever take it, he just takes your rook. When you have 2 rooks, that's a different story. Now you need to coordinate your rook and your king to defend against something, which is not as easy to do. So I suspect that's where this big advantage is coming from. Also, black's king is pretty nice. It can just tuck on g7 very nicely. It's going to take white 1, 2, 3 moves to even really generate an attack, which is too many moves. And so it's a lot of like little things that seem to add up to a nice advantage for black. I'm still curious how this is going to play out as far as how Hikaru is going to make progress, because I mean, I wouldn't necessarily know what to do if I'm playing this position as black, to be honest with you. So yeah, so the reason they got more time is because they hit move 40. So the time control was, I think it's 120 minutes, so 2 hours for the first 40 moves with no increment. And then they get an extra 30 minutes with 30 seconds added each time to finish out the game. So however long it takes, they can keep playing on the increment now. 30 seconds will be added every time. And if you're just joining, on move 39, Hikaru played here, attacking the pawn, and Wei messed up. He needed to play rook a1, but he only had a few seconds. He had to make a decision, and he played king h2 before he lost on time. That was actually the blunder. If he would have played rook a1, we would have a very similar situation, but he's got control of the back rank, which is apparently the key in this position. And because he did not do that, I expect now we're going to see rook b1 check. Now, I have the eval bar. So obviously it's easy for me to say, oh yeah, here's the move. Hikaru has to see the idea and figure this out. If he doesn't, and he plays some other random move, for example, let's say he decides to try to come over here for whatever reason, well, all of a sudden, Stockfish is like, yeah, this is basically a draw now. The advantage is pretty much gone. So, and maybe it's not a given, right, that Hikaru will play this. Well, we have to see. Isn't it a rule of thumb that if you're winning 2 rooks versus 2 rooks endgame, you want to exchange 1 rook? As in that it's usually easier? I don't think so. I think, as far as I'm aware, single rook endings are the most drawish type of endings. So I would not want to exchange rooks if I was Hikaru. If I'm playing as white, yes, I would want to exchange a pair of rooks. Particularly when you have the active rooks like this, they are very powerful. 2 rooks together is extremely powerful. So Hikaru would want to try to make the most of this while he's got the king kind of in a vulnerable situation. So, yeah. What's the idea after rook b1 check? Yeah, I don't exactly understand, to be honest with you. We can try to see what Stockfish is saying. It wants black to invade on the back, and then sort of put pressure on the pawn. Stockfish says best move is rook a3. Keep attacking here, and if you try to push it, brings the king up, gradually pushes this rook out of there. It wants to take the pawn, and now you have the two connected pawns. So in that example, it was push the king up and win a pawn. Now, I don't know if you can do that in every situation. So now let's just say that is the idea. Push the king up and win a pawn. What if the king just tries to camp out here? Let's see, what does that do? H4 check, followed by check, check, followed by rook F1. Let's say white just, I don't know, goes here. What's the idea? H3. And again, now you win the pawns, right? So basically, it looks to me like the idea is flush the king out, get both of your rooks behind, and then try to win a pawn using the power of both of your rooks, right? That's what it seems like is the idea. Rockfish says rook A4, check, king, yeah, this is what it says. It's going to force the rook away. Let's say you try to stop that. Let's say you just go here. What's the idea now? Oh, this is the idea. Then you come over here. Let's say I just leave that there. Then you have a checkmate. Whoa. That's for, oh, that's mate. Look at that. Wow. So I guess that's the idea. You want to flush the king out. Bring your rooks back and win the pawns and go into an endgame where you have now 2 pawns, which is enough to win. That's the plan. And if white can't figure out a way to stop that, Hikaru's just going to win. All right, guys. I don't know if I'm going to finish this game out or what, because I'm pretty sure we've actually seen the idea. And I do want to go eat lunch. And I expect it's going to happen. So I might actually wrap it up here. Because this could easily last another hour or longer. But it's really probably just going to be what we just said, as long as Hikaru finds it. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'll cover some more games in the future. Let me check what the next round is. So round 5 is on April 3rd. That's Friday. Ooh, it's Hikaru against Javo. Oh my. Hikaru will be white. That's going to be a really interesting game. Yeah, maybe I'll have to cover that on Friday. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that, guys. Go ahead and grab lunch. You can watch the other commentators finish it out, I guess. But I expect what we're going to see is this. I think Hikaru's just going to spend his time figuring it out and make sure he doesn't mess it up. Remember, he did blunder in the other endgame against Fabi, so he's probably going to be extra cautious here, and I expect that he will find it. So, yeah, I'm going to end this here. I want to eat lunch, and I don't like eating on stream generally because it's just it's hard to talk and commentate anyway. So, thank you guys. We'll see you maybe Friday. I'll see if I'm going to do that on Friday. I'll try. If my schedule can fit it in, may cover that game because I do want to see that one. So thank you guys for watching. I will see you next time. Take it easy, Rob. All right.